Thank you. Sorry we're a little bit late.
This was very hard to write. It said it's any changes, somebody can change it. I couldn't deal with it. Look at this.
I practiced it a whole bunch of times.
Look at that, how long that is.
This isn't turned up too loud or anything, is it?
That's one line.
If I really want to get points across, this would be good, but it seems pretty loud. How about if I keep talking, Hare Krishna, then you can judge. Hare Krishna, is it? It seems so. It seems much louder than normal. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. How about that?
That's better.
Okay. It's still on?
Yeah.
It's such a contrast. They say it's all right. So I don't know from here. So.
Well, Haridwani's not here. She's the only one that.
Huh?
I said Haridwani's not here, and she's usually the only one that doesn't pick up on what's being said.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Narayanam namaskritya.
Narayanam namaskritya. Naram
Chaiva
chaiva narottamam.
Devim sarasvatim vyasam.
Devim sarasvatim vyasam.
Tato
Jayamudirayat.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Srimatam Swakata Krishna,
Srinvatam Sakata Krishnaha,
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha,
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha,
Vidyantastohya Bhadrani,
Vidyantasso Abhadrani,
Vidunoti Suhitsatam,
Vidunati Suritsatam.
Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu,
Nashtarpayeshu Abhadreshu,
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya,
Nitam Bhagavata Sevaya,
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke,
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke,
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Yeah.
So we have a reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, Parikshit cursed by a Brahmin boy. It's text 21, and it's got a humdinger of a word in it. So we'll do our best. Atapi yat pada nakavash. No, it's an S then SH. Nakavaswishtam. Atapi yat pada nakavaswishtam. I did practice this yesterday, but it's like I didn't. Jagad. Virincho. Paritar. Anam. Jagad Virincho Paritar Hanam Baha.
Jagat Virincho Paritar Hanam Baha.
Better than me the first time.
Is there a dot on that?
Is there a dot on what?
On that H on BHA? BHAH?
On the end, yeah, there's a dot. There's an H is at the end. I've never seen it without a dot. Sesham Punati Anyatamo Mukundat Sesham Punati Anyatamo Mukundat
Shesham Punyati Anyatamo Mukundat
Ko Nama Loke
Bhagavat Padartaha
Ko Nama Loke Bhagavat Padartaha. Atapi yat pada nakar
Atapi yat padanakavarishtam
Jagad virincho paritarhanambaha
Jagat virincho paritarhanambaha
Sesham punati anyatamo mukundat
Sesham punati anyatamo mukundat
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Atapi yat padanaka vasrishtam
Atapi yad padanakavarishtam
Jagad virincho paritarhanambaha
Jagat virincho paritarhanambaha
Sesham punati anyatamo mukundat
Sesham punati anyatamo mukundat
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
One more time. Atapi yat padanaka vasrishtam
Atapi yat padanakavarishtam
Jagat virincho paritarhanambaha
Jagat virincho paritarhanambaha
Sesham punati anyatamo mukundat
Sesham punyati anyatamo mukundat
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Please chant.
Atapi yat padanakavarishtam Jagad virincho paritarhanambaha Shesham punati anyatamo mukundat Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Atapiya padanakavarishtam
Atapi yat padanakavarishtam
Jagat virincho paritarhanamba Sesham punati anyatamo mukundat Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Sesham punati ayato mukundat
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Atapi yat padanakavarishtam
Atapi yat padanakavarishtam
Jagat virincho paritarhanamba
Jagat virincho
Sesham punati anyatamo mukundat
Sesham punati ayato mukundat
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Konamaloke bhagavat padartaha
Anybody else? Okay, remaining. Ata. Therefore. Api. Certainly. Yat. Whose. Padanaka. Nails of the feet. Avasrishtam. Emanating. Jagat. The whole universe. Virincha. Brahmaji. Uparita. Collected. Arhana. Worship. Ambhava. I tried to get that each. Water.
water.
Sa,
Sa,
along with. Isham,
Isham,
Lord Shiva.
Lord Shiva.
Punati,
Punati, purifies.
Anyatamaha,
Anyatamaha.
who else?
Who else?
Mukundat,
Akundat.
besides the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna.
Besides the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna.
Kaha,
Kaha. Who?
Nama,
Nama.
name. Loke,
Within
the world. Bhagavat,
Bhagavat.
Supreme Lord.
The Supreme Lord.
Pada, position. Artaha,
Attaha.
work. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
I'll read the translation all the way through first. Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. Let's repeat. Who can be worthy of the name?
Who can be worthy of the name
of the Supreme Lord?
Of the Supreme Lord.
But the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna.
But the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna.
Brahmaji collected the water.
Brahmaji collected the water.
Emanating from the nails of his feet.
Emanating from the nails of his feet.
In order to award it to Lord Shiva.
In order to award it to Lord Shiva.
As a worshipful welcome.
As a worshipful welcome.
This very water, the Ganges.
This very water, the Ganges.
Is purifying the whole universe.
Is purifying the whole universe.
Including Lord Shiva.
Including Lord Shiva.
The conception of many gods in the Vedic literatures by the ignorance is completely wrong. The Lord is one without a second, but he expands himself in many ways, and this is confirmed in the Vedas. Such expansions of the Lord are limitless, but some of them are the living entities. The living entities are not as powerful as the Lord's plenary expansions, and therefore there are two different types of expansions. Lord Brahma is generally one of the living entities, and Lord Shiva is the via medium between the Lord and the living entities. In other words, even demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who are the chief amongst all demigods, are never equal to or greater than Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and all-powerful demigods like Brahma and Shiva are engaged in the worship of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Therefore, who can be more powerful than Mukunda, Lord Krishna, to be factually called the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are not independently powerful. They are powerful as expansions of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are engaged in the transcendental love and service of the Lord, and so also are the living entities. There are 4 sets of worshipful devotees of the Lord, and the chief amongst them are the Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Shri Sampradaya, descending directly from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the goddess of fortune Lakshmi, respectively. Besides the above-mentioned 3 Sampradayas, there is the Kumara Sampradaya, descending from Sanat Kumara. All of the 4 original Sampradayas are still scrupulously engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord up to date, and they all declare that Lord Krishna, said Mukunda, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no other personality is equal to him or greater than him. So, was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes to the foresight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances on behalf. So, I think the first thing we're going to talk about is this expression, one without a second. We see that, and we see it 2 different ways. Prabhupada uses it 2 different ways. Because one in the Bhagavad Gita, let's see, 9:15. He uses that expression. This translation says, whether we read Sanskrit, we're supposed to read Sanskrit. Yana yagyena chapyanye yad janto mam upasate ekatvena pritatvena bahuta vishvatomukum. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many, and in the universal form. Now, what does this others mean? It's responding after 9:14, which says, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. And it says others means others than the devotees. So worshiping, the purport explains, they are still lower. Okay, at first it had just said some of them have already been described. Okay, there are devotees who are beginning to be devotees, and there's 4 different types it's been describing. You know, the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into 3. In other words, these are others than devotees. So they are he who worships himself as one with the Supreme. So that's a Mayavadi. That's one without, worships the Lord as one without a second. So the other, just to go over it, as diverse in many, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. That would mean worshipping the demigods and calling them the Supreme Lord, because we put them together here, worshipping the demigods. And 3, he who accepts the universal form, the Vishvarupa, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the universal form. So this one without a second. The Mayavadi worships the Lord as one without a second. In other words, he's one and he has no second of any kind. So all is one. And that's a Mayavadi. So they're not considered devotees. So they worship, essentially they worship themselves, because, you know, if I just get liberated, then I would understand that I'm God. You know, so they worship themselves. So, however, in this verse, uses the same expression in the purport. It says the conception of many gods in Vedic literatures by the ignorant is completely wrong. The Lord is one without a second, but he expands himself in many ways. This is confirmed in the Vedas. So he's one without a second, but he expands himself. This is a different meaning. There's no second God. That's what that means. He's one without a second. But he expands himself in lots of ways. And some of the expansions are Vishnu Tattva, and some of the expansions are Jiva Tattva. And somewhere in there is Shakti Tattva, but that's a finer analysis, because actually Radharani is an expansion of Krishna in a sense. And so as his energy, and so are the Jiva souls, and all the Lakshmis, the goddesses of fortune, and the Jiva souls are all, in a sense, Shakti expansions, but we're the lower energy and they're the higher energy. But for this purpose here, there's 2 kinds of expansions, because the Shakti type, like Radharani's level, or the goddess of fortune, are like Vishnu type in a way. They're very complicated. Anyway, there's 2 types of expansions. In the spiritual world, I read recently on Facebook, somebody was building up the picture of what it's like in the spiritual world. There's lots of personalities up there. Some of them are expansions of Krishna, and some of them are Jiva Tattpas. The expansions of Krishna never fall down. The Jiva Tattpas might decide to do something different and come here. But so there's some types that really don't fall down, because they are Krishna, just expanded. And we are Krishna, but not Krishna. So we can take that knot and go with it. You know, and just, I want to go elsewhere. And then actually I want to be Krishna because I'm jealous or something of his position. I mean, it gets twisted in that way. Because we are, in a sense, one with Krishna, and also different from Krishna. But if they take it the wrong way, then they don't have to worship Krishna anymore. So they want to be Krishna in the wrong way. And it's very complicated, but it's very simple. Maybe to check here. Did I say right? Is anybody have any questions about the way I'm saying it? Everybody's okay? Just checking. So, anyways, so there's many in the spiritual world. There's cowherd boys who are expansions of Krishna, and there is eternal companions, but they're expansions of Krishna, just like Balaram is an expansion of Krishna, and he's eternal. Balaram's never going to fall down. And but there's other cowherd boys, for example, that are Jiva Tattva, and they can choose to fall down. So it's like that in the spiritual, where there's both kinds. And so in the material world, there's Jiva Tattvas, and there's all kinds of expansions of Krishna in the form of super soul and incarnations. But the demigods are a little different. They are Jiva souls like us, but the position that they create is, in a sense, part of Krishna. Because the demigod positions are created are like separated out when the elements are separated out in the beginning, before actually Brahma starts making the details of the universe, giving bodies to everybody out of his resources that come from Krishna. The demigod positions are somehow already created. So, let's see, the demigods, what are the demigods? Anyway, actually, this is very confusing. So Arjuna actually asked Krishna, what are the demigods? This is in 8.4. Read that too, it's very interesting. So I'll just read the English of the whole little series of questions and answers here. Beginning of 8, chapter 8, the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Who is the Lord of sacrifice? How does he live in the body, O Madhava-priya? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So Arjuna just unloaded a whole bunch of questions here. And Krishna begins with, in text 3, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental, living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. And this Brahman is not the impersonal aspect of Krishna. This Brahman is everything spiritual. Because in the glossary, there's 4 definitions of Brahman. One is the soul, one is the impersonal aspect of Krishna, one is Krishna, and one is the Mahatattva, from which the spiritual origin of the material universe. So Mahatattva, all of these are Brahman.
Question.
Yeah.
If I can ask. So, what is the source you cited? That 4.
That's the glossary in the Bhagavad Gita.
Glossary, okay.
Yeah. So Adhyatma, we talk about Adhyatmic miseries, and they come from the self, mind and body. So Adhyatma is the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma, or fruitive activities. Pertaining to the development of the material body. So you want to know exactly what karma is. There it is. Krishna just summed it up. Text 4. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adidaiva. It's a universal form of the Lord. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adiyagya, the Lord of sacrifice. So here, pertaining to the discussion, the demigods are included, the word is included, in the universal form. The universal form is the material manifestation, inhabited by Krishna, the super soul, and as a soul inhabits a body, inhabited by Krishna, although Krishna has his own spiritual body, but this is sometimes said to be, in a sense, Krishna's body, for those who don't understand the spiritual body. So, because Krishna inhabits, it's material energy and Krishna inhabits it. And so it's like the super soul of the whole universe, but the universal form includes the demigods. So how can it be compared to Krishna? Because they're part of the universal form. So that's just that's interesting to look at. Let's see. It's not the highest. Okay. And Lord Brahma, the chief of the demigods, or maybe Lord Shiva is the chief of the demigods, but Lord Shiva is the in-between, which I'll talk about too. So Brahma is not the highest, but he looks like the highest, and Narada is one of his sons. When Brahma first started populating the universe, he first created sons, and Narada is one of them. So Narada was observing, and Narada thought that Brahma is the creator. He's the source of everything. He's the creator of everything. He knows everything. But yet, Brahma meditates. So, I have to look at stuff here so I can read it nicely. So he wanted to know what Brahma was meditating on, if he was the highest. He had this very intelligent question. Srimad Bhagavatam 2, 5, 1 through 12, actually, especially 7, 2, 5. Okay, so I'll just read the English. Sri Narada Muni asked Brahmaji, O chief amongst the demigods, O firstborn living entity, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Please tell me that transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of the individual soul and the supersoul. So you already understand that much to ask that question. So, my dear Father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifest world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? And under whose control is all this being done? My dear Father, all this is known to you scientifically because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, or whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe, is within your grip just like a walnut. My dear Father, this is text 4, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy? 5. As the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. 6. Whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal, or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your Lordship, thou so great. 7. Yet, we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. So, might as well read it. So, 8. My dear Father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me, so that I may be able to understand it as your student. 9. Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, it's merciful. When a disciple asks a spiritual master, or when any young devotee, any devotee asks a question of a superior devotee or an advanced devotee, it's mercy, because that person gets to talk about Krishna. So, Brahma is telling Narada that he's being merciful to him. You have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. 10. Whatever you have spoken about me is not false, because unless and until one is aware of the Personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. 11. I create after the Lord's creation, by his personal effulgence, known as the Brahmajyoti, just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets, and the twinkling stars also manifest their brightness. Well, it's saying that the stars are reflecting the sun. Very interesting. 12. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna. So now he's answering. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences them, the less intelligent class of men, to call me the supreme controller. So there's the answer. Brahma is pretty high. He's almost all-powerful, but he worships Krishna because it all comes from Krishna. And, let's see, Shiva, let's see, there's about it, Shiva. It's nice to read, I can tell about it too, but it's nice to read it. the glories of Advaita Charya. So we want to go to 79. Chapters are really long in Chaitanya Charitamrita. 67. Okay. The verse goes, Rudra, who is an expansion of Sadashiva and who appears in unlimited universes, is also a guna avatar, qualitative incarnation, and is the ornament of all the demigods and the endless universes. Purport. There are 11 expansions of Rudra, or Lord Shiva. They are as follows. He gives a name. I'll go on. Besides these expansions, there are 8 forms of Rudra called earth, water, fire, air, sky, the sun, the moon, and Solaryaji. Generally, all these Rudras have 5 faces, 3 eyes, and 10 arms. Sometimes it is found that Rudra is compared to Brahma and considered a living entity. But when Rudra is explained to be a partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is compared to Shesha. Shesha, the serpent who serves, is an expansion of Balaram serving Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is therefore simultaneously an expansion of Lord Vishnu, and in his capacity for annihilating the creation, one of the living entities. In his capacity for annihilating the creation, he's one of the living entities. So that's where he's affected by more ignorance, because I'll explain. As an expansion of Lord Vishnu, he is called Hara, and he is transcendental to the material qualities. But when he's in touch with Tamaguna, he appears contaminated by the material modes of nature. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam and the Brahma Samhita. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, it is stated that Lord Rudra is always associated with the material nature when she is in the neutral, unmanifested stage. But when the modes of material nature are agitated, he associates with material nature from a distance. In the Brahma Samhita, the relationship between In the Brahma Samhita, the relationship between Vishnu and Lord Shiva is compared to that between milk and yogurt. Milk is converted into yogurt by certain additives, which is bacteria which one might call a contamination. But although milk and yogurt have the same ingredients, they have different functions. Similarly, Lord Shiva is an expansion of Lord Vishnu, yet because it is taking part in the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation, he is considered to be changed, like milk converted into yogurt. So, might as well finish reading it too. Sounds good. In the Puranas, it is found that Shiva appears sometimes from the heads of Brahma and sometimes from the head of Vishnu. The annihilator Rudra is born from Sankarsana and the ultimate fire to burn the whole creation. In the Vayu Purana, there's a description of Sadashiva in one of the Vaikuntha planets. That Sadashiva is a direct expansion of Lord Krishna's form for pastimes. It is said that Sadashiva, Lord Shambhu, is an expansion from the Sadashiva in the Vaikuntha planets, Lord Vishnu, and that his consort, Mahamaya, is an expansion of Rama, Devi, or Lakshmi. Mahamaya is the origin or birthplace of material nature. Very subtle and complex here, but this is why in the purport it says that Lord Shiva is the via medium between the Lord and the living entities. In other words, he's halfway there. He's sometimes one and sometimes the other. But he's a partial expansion of Vishnu, and then he's affected by, he seems to be affected by the modes of nature. So it's like the bacteria in milk making it. It's a contamination, a good contamination for a good purpose. But it's not pure milk anymore. So yogurt can never become milk again, but yogurt is still always milk. Yogurt is not different from milk, but it can never be milk again. So that's like Lord Shiva. Not different from Lord Vishnu, but can't be Vishnu. It's a interesting thing. And let's see. So then, Ganges, Srimad Bhagavatam 5:1-35. This is sums up this Lotus feet, so I'll read that too. There's a prayer. This is part of Jayadev Goswami says, I think it's part of the Dasavatar, it must be. Chalayasi Vikramane Bhavin Adhuta Vamana Padanaka Nira Janita Jana Pavana Keshava Dvita Vamana Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. All glories to Lord Keshava, who assumed the form of a dwarf. O Lord of the universe, who takes away everything inauspicious for the devotees. O wonderful Vamana Dev, you tricked the great demon Bali Maharaj by your steps. The water that touched the nails of your lotus feet when you pierced through the covering of the universe purifies all living entities in the form of the river Ganges. So that's that one. That's all my references. So I guess I'll just, is there any more to talk about here? Just to sum it up, the point is, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, so much so that even the nails of his lotus feet. Now, on a material body, the feet are the lowest, and the nails are the unclean part. But the water that touched the nails of Krishna's lotus feet is the Ganges, which purifies the whole universe, including Lord Shiva, who is so great that he's a partial expansion of Krishna, although he's involved in material energy. So, this is how great the Supreme Lord is, how great Krishna is. This is what's being discussed here. What is the context? None equal to him is yesterday's. And he's just so great, he's just completely above and beyond everything, everybody. And that's why we exclusively worship Lord Krishna and his devotees in the movement. We don't worship demigods, we respect them. Some people do, because of their family tradition or something, maybe still worship some demigods. But we don't consider that the highest understanding, because Krishna takes care of everything. So we have patience with people working through their stages. But Krishna takes care of everything, and we are not instructed to worship anybody but Krishna and the great devotees of Krishna. And even small devotees of Krishna are worthy of worship. Like, even you see somebody who chants Hare Krishna, you see they're not very advanced, but at least they chant Hare Krishna, so you offer them respects in your mind. If you see that they're equal to you, they're initiated, they're serving, they're like more or less like your equal or something, or whatever, then you become their friend. And if they're great, then you become their servant, offer obeisances, try to please them, try to hear from them, like that. So in this 3 degrees, we worship the devotees of Krishna. And Prabhupada said, all my disciples are pure devotees. And he knew very well we're still struggling with all kinds of attachments and impurities and everything. And still he said that because our purpose is pure. Because we don't want to worship anybody but Krishna, and his devotees, and we don't want to get anything out of it except love for Krishna. Prabhupada is such a powerful teacher that just by reading his books, you get that idea, and you've got that idea. And that's your purpose. You can't go back anymore and say, well, I want to worship Krishna because he'll make me happy in this life. You can't hardly go back. Once you read his books and once you hear from him and from the devotees following him, you can't want anything else. You can't have as your purpose of your devotional service anything else but to develop love for Krishna. You may want other things, but you know better. You know it's different, and you're working against it, trying to overcome that. So that's because Prabhupada is such a powerful teacher that just hearing from him puts you on that path. So we are all on that path. So in that sense, we're all pure devotees. Not that we are all pure, but we are pure devotees by our intentions, just because Prabhupada is a pure devotee and so powerful. So I think I'll stop now. Any questions or discussion? Can't see the clock. See that? When you put that right in front of the window, because now the clock is quite shiny, so I can barely see it, even if it's not a great
Should be
light.
there.
Yeah. So you have a question or discussion?
Right. Someone said, once you learn 1 + 1 is 2, if someone told you something different, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, nah.
Yeah, and we've been told the absolute truth, and it rings true, and we can't unlearn it. I mean, unless we made offenses. If we make offenses against devotees, namely serious offenses, there's 10 offenses to the holy name, and even then, you can go to the holy name and try again to chant humbly, and that can be cured. But if you offend the devotees and don't go to them and ask for forgiveness, then you can lose your focus. You can be covered up again. And I know there's no loss or diminution, but you can be covered up for a long time before you come back up again. Depends on your offense. So you don't want to be careful. I mean, I was thinking about this. We have dealings with each other, and we have impurities, and sometimes we get mad, sometimes we don't understand each other, sometimes we're disturbed about each other. We need to talk about it with each other. Now, myself, I don't, unless it's malicious, I don't ever care if people talk about me. If I hear that people were talking about me, I figure, well, maybe they needed to. But sometimes I need to talk about somebody, you know. And we have to do that. We listen to each other's frustrations with each other, faults and so on. And I don't think that should be taken seriously. But if it becomes malicious in some way, either consciously or unconsciously, we have to know our motives, to understand ourselves. But we don't want to. We want to be very careful about if we're talking about somebody bugs us, somebody's a little problem, and we got to be careful how we say it. We got to be careful how we view it, balanced, and giving credit for devotion, giving credit for our own selves having weaknesses, and all that. We have to be real fair like that.
Explain malicious.
Malicious, you're trying to be mean. You're trying to bring that person down or something. We don't want to go there. We want to be really careful about that. And some people may really, really bother us, and they maybe have some really serious anarchies going on that disturbs everybody. Still, if we have to talk about it, we have to talk about it in a loving way. We have to recognize what they're doing. We have to recognize how they're trying, how they're struggling, and we may still have to talk about it in order to survive ourselves, you know. But not in a malicious way, not to bring that person down. So we have to understand deeply our motives and the effect of the words we choose. And we may think we're choosing words that are okay, our motives may be okay, but the word choice may have a different effect on somebody else listening. And that person may be brought down by it. So we have to be careful about that, because that kind of thing is the thing that can actually cover up our knowledge of what pure devotion is. We can decide, well, maybe I like to be an impersonalist, or maybe I should worship a demigod and try to get something, you know. Or we can maybe I just be a materialist. We can just, you know, deep in our mind, we can kind of make a turn, and we can get lost for a while, covered over by our offenses. Yeah. Yes.
Usually, if someone's really on their way to the exit door, and you give them, you try to be tolerant, you try to work with the fellow devotee. Mm-hmm. Usually, there's self-harm on the person, from the person, and they exit themselves.
But that's a different thing. If somebody is causing harm to themselves and others, and the way they're talking or behaving or something, they may have to be made to go elsewhere, so they don't cause harm. But still, when we talk about them, remember that they did devotional service, and we remember to be fair and equal and kind-hearted about it, compassionate about it, even though something practical may have to be done. But always got to remember, this person was drawn to Krishna. This person somehow did chant. You know, give them honor in your mind, at least, and in the way you talk about it. So have to be. It's a tricky thing to learn, because sometimes our own frustrations are so hard to deal with that we want to have one of them outbursts that we're talking about. I want to have an outburst against that person, say some bad things. So we have to. Be very honest with self and very careful with ourselves, how we behave. No matter what the other guy does, we have to be careful ourselves. Anybody else? Did I see a hand up? Yes, okay.
Two things. It's compared that Prabhupada said devotees were three devotees. It's like a mango. One is like not ripe yet, and the other is ripe.
Still a mango.
another thing is you mentioned the demigods. It made me think I was reading in Muna's book about they were going into the demigod temple. I don't know what it was. Probably someplace like Washington or something. But they said, "How should we do this?" You know, they were asking Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, "You just follow me." So Prabhupada went in, and his right side, when he bowed down, his right side was facing the demigods. And so they followed that. And if you go to like Krishna temple, your left side is facing Krishna, or if you're going to the Asana Prabhupada, your left side. Here's is kind of like a dilemma, because if you like lay flat and your left side is facing Prabhupada and your feet are facing the deities, so a lot of people just go straight. Like
Yeah.
that. Sort of thing.
Straight, I guess, is always nice, but
About that, because really where Prabhupada is, it isn't, you can't do like what Prabhu was saying, that although that is proper for the spiritual master and the demigods, and the deity of Vishnu. So my Guru Maharaj said, you should go straight out from Prabhupada, like this. Here's Prabhupada, and then like this, so that your feet aren't pointing to the
yeah, because even if you put Prabhupada on the other side, you could offer obeisances properly to Prabhupada, but when you go to offer obeisances properly to the deities, your feet are into Prabhupada. So we just have to do like, he'd have to be way in the back or something. So we have to do like you said, like straight on. And then we got this exit into the pujari room. If you happen to want to offer your obeisances quick by the door as you leave the temple, you're doing it there. I just kind of like aim into the middle of the room for everybody. I know what else you can do there. So it's like it's on the deities there on your right, but they know what I mean. I'm not calling them demigods, so they know. It's just the way the building is. So it's, but we basically, we know. But when we go to a temple of the demigods, when it's really clear that people are worshiping demigods, then I don't know what you do in a Mayavadi temple. We went to this one devotee was giving, he was a inexperienced devotee, not really trained, and he was the only one in the city apparently, and he was doing some, what he called preaching at this Hindu center, and he would cook, and he would bring it in for them to offer, and then he would have a kirtan in front of the Radha Krishna deities. But there were all these deities with big D and deities with a small d, all around the room equally. And this was perhaps who they were worshipping.
Oh, it was mixed. They had
Who's the spiritual master? Anyway, their spiritual master would happen to be situated in the same section as Radha Krishna deities.
Right. Narayan.
I can't think of his name. But was it Narayan? Something Narayan?
Mm-hmm. Swami Narayan.
Swami Narayan. Okay. So anyway, they're real devoted to Swami Narayan, and he was thinking that he was just melting their hearts, having Krishna Kirtan in front of Radha Krishna deities, and they were all gathered there. But then actually kind of realized that was Swami Narayan's place. And Swami Narayan is teaching that all the Krishna and the demigods are all equal. So this poor person didn't quite realize that his preaching wasn't really making it all the way to the top. And unfortunately, I pointed it out to him, and he lost heart. And he didn't do it. I know he quit doing everything. But anyways, that was kind of unfortunate. But he was working alone, and he wasn't connected that well to the other devotees. But in a place like that, I don't know if you went in, I don't know how you'd have to just individually turn around for each altar to do it right or something. But they all have equal altars in a place like that. So I wasn't very comfortable. We went there to help him out. We went a few times to help him out. That's why I observed this and told him it wasn't a very comfortable place. I didn't really like it very much. But it was the only one in the whole city, the only temple in the city. So he thought he was preaching. Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
Well, thank you for your class. We talked a lot too that reminded me of what I was reading about in the fourth canto, and how one of the things I'm remembering is that there's different incarnations, and for the three modes of material nature, that Lord Shiva, then you have Satya, Vishnu, and Passion, Raj. Then I was trying to remember also with Lord Shiva was, you've heard that one, how he's Vaishnava, the one
How
who's
he's
great,
like a
he's the
very-
greatest of all devotees.
Yeah.
And we should worship, not as Krishna, but, and what I was also realizing, Daksha, because he was envious of Lord Shiva and would not give the proper respect and everything. I'll try to make it short with the whole. What happened was Sati, who was the wife of Shiva, she gave up her body because she wasn't wanting to have that understanding that Daksha was her father, and there's also other reasons. But then Lord Shiva, it says out of anger, but it wasn't anger in an inimical way. Like his example of a father, sometimes the child needs to be punished to show what needs to, the proper way to do things, the proper way to show respect. So in that way, what Shiva did that, he created a huge demon to come and do all those things on the place where the sacrifice Yajna was, the Yajna was, and everything. But then later on, when Daksha finally came to his senses and got a goat head, then he realized that yes, Lord Shiva needed to be respected, and then everything became more peaceful. And, you know,
Can I retell it? I just read it too.
Yeah.
I just read it too because I was looking for the story. Where did Brahmaji collect the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome? I don't know where that is, but I did read that pastime. So I thought it might be there. So Daksha was having a sacrifice, but Daksha was offended by Lord Shiva because he didn't think he was worshipped enough by Lord Shiva because he was Shiva's father-in-law. And Lord Shiva, I guess he had some previous event, he hadn't stood up or something. Lord Shiva didn't stand up for him, stand up and honor him or something. And so anyway, Daksha was mad that Lord Shiva didn't invite him to this sacrifice. So Sati wanted to go and said, my family, I want to see my family again, I want to see my mothers and my sisters, I really want to go. And he said, no, you won't be happy if you go, but I really want to go, I just want to see them, it'll be all right. So off she goes to the sacrifice to which Lord Shiva was not invited. And she got there, and she was happy to see her mother and her sisters that were really, really nice to her and everything, but her father was not, and her father was not respectful to Lord Shiva. He considered Lord Shiva like covered with crematorium dust and unclean, and beneath him because he's a son-in-law and all this. So Sati took so much offense for the sake of her husband that she decided to leave the body. And so she sat down, meditated, and consumed her body with fire, and it was gone. And so then Lord Shiva was angry. Oh, you were so disrespectful that now my wife is gone too. My wife has ended her life. And so he was so angry. He created this, like you said, this demon, right? I didn't really read that, but I remember.
Virabhadra comes to my mind. V-R-A-V.
Could be. I didn't read that part. He came and he destroyed the sacrifice. He killed and destroyed the sacrificial.
With Shiva's followers, all those
ghosts and everything, yeah. So they created havoc. And actually to this, Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma knew this was going to happen, so neither of them had even gone to that sacrifice. So, anyways, this is a mess now. The whole arena is a mess. The sacrifice is incomplete. And so then Lord Brahma is saying to the other demigods, you're going to have to go and offer your apologies and respects and obeisances to Lord Shiva. So he went with them to help out. And he gave all kinds of like praising words and consolatory words and everything to help out and honor Lord Shiva for who he really is. And Lord Shiva, when they got there, Lord Shiva was in the act of preaching to the sages calmly. He was all calmed down. So later on, actually, he married Sati again. She became the daughter of the Himalayas, and he married her again because they're eternal. So anyway, so then Lord Shiva went and he gave Daksha the head of a goat, and he gave somebody else some of the eyes. He made some arrangements
It's like a father, I remember it probably explains like a father punishes a son if he does something wrong and he needs to
Yeah,
be
he's
corrected, but
he's just corrected.
not in an inimical way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Although it also says, well, she was easily angered and easily pleased, other places. But then, he was easily angered, but he punishes, but he has that consciousness, that this is just for their good. So anyway, he delivered a really big punishment, and then he kind of set things right again and everything. And Daksha was humble to him and realized his mistake, realized who Lord Shiva is. So that's that story. But that isn't, Lord Brahma did not bring Ganges water to Lord Shiva in that incident, and I'm not sure what this is referring to. So, unless Lord Brahma collected the water to come to earth and land on Lord Shiva's head and bless him, and then form the Ganges River, but I didn't really find where that is, so I don't know if that's it.
Just one little correction because it's so instructive. Lord Shiva didn't actually give his sanction for her to go. He kept telling her, no, don't go, and she went.
Right. Yeah. Did I say he let her go?
I
I don't think I meant that, but she just...
You said okay, like a little...
Oh, I said it kind of rhetorically. He didn't say okay, but I said okay, so she went. I think. I didn't mean to sound like, because I didn't think it was that way, that he gave permission. She just insisted, oh, okay, so I guess he did sort of that you're going to go anyway, and I didn't give you blessing, so okay, here's a escort. He created an escort for his followers that went with her. So that much, I'm pretty sure he did do, but he didn't say okay, actually. Thanks. So, anything else?
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
What comes to my mind, what I remember from purpose, I could be wrong, that Lord, Shiva didn't offer respects to Prabhupada because he's always meditating on his most beloved Lord, I can't remember, Narayan, the feature of Shri Krishna,
Or Shiva
it's
didn't
always
offer-
in meditation.
Yeah.
When he doesn't have a place, like an opulent place, even if it says like a tree or something, you see him in a picture like that meditating on his beloved Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, if he's in meditation, that's what I was remembering about that.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
All this is Srila Prabhupada, all this is Srila Prabhupada.
much.
Yeah.